All right, everybody, welcome. We are here for the State of Off-Road Racing 2023. Are you guys ready to have some fun today? I hope you are, because we got an interesting show for you today. This is a little different than any show we've ever done before. There is no sponsors of this show. There is no agenda on this show. We have a few points that we want to talk about, but it's all up in the air and it's up to you guys. I thought it would be fun to kind of do this. A little something different. Let you guys get your voices heard. We have some promoters coming on today. I want to hear from you fans. We want to hear from you racers. We want to hear from everybody out there today. Now it's going to be pretty crazy. Here's the way it's going to work. We're going to start talking about a couple different subjects. Now, if you would like to join that subject, come on the waiting room. I see right now there's already 18 of you in the waiting room. The way I'd like to do it is once you want to talk about what we're talking about, then join. So the best way to do it is just watch the show on our regular YouTube right now. And then when we start talking about something you want to talk about, come on in and join the waiting room then, and then I'll know to add you. Because if you guys all just sit in the waiting room right now, I'm not going to know when to add you in. So that's how to make it work today. I'm going to bring in our first guest, and let's see if I can get him in here. I'm going to bring in Travis Clark with me here. Let's see if we can get him to join and turn on his unmute himself. Travis, you there? You got to unmute yourself, Travis. Let's see. Ask to unmute.
Yeah, you've got everyone muted so no one can chime in.
I know I'm going to have to use the mute button today, I think, because if we didn't, I think it would get a little out of control. You know what I mean?
I think so too.
Yeah. So this is Travis Clark. For those of you that don't know, he's been around a long time in the sport. He's done everything from racing. He's worked on cars. He does team management. He does athlete management, a little bit of everything. Right, Travis?
A little bit. I've definitely participated in all aspects, I think, of this sport. You gave me credit for saying working on cars. I wouldn't go that far, but I've done most everything else.
Well, you kind of know how to put a car together, maybe.
Yeah, I do.
Right? Yeah,
exactly. Or take it apart, one or the other.
Yeah, right on. So basically, the show today, we're talking about the state of off-road racing, and I feel like in the last year, and I think a lot of people agree, the state is been really weird, right? Especially racing in the United States. In Mexico, it's kind of the same thing that it's been, scores obviously very popular. Everybody likes that. But in the US, there's been a lot of stuff that's happened the last few years. And it's really split up the racing. It's split up the racers. It's split up the promoters, literally. It's split up the vendors. It's split up everybody, from the safety guys that go and volunteer at races. Just everything has been so split up that I don't know if it's good for the sport the way it's going right now.
No, it's really fragmented. It's unfortunate. So obviously I do a lot of the partnerships and marketing for, both events like King of the Hammers and teams like Menzies and Players Factory Racing. And we've always struggled as a sport to really kind of deliver value to partners and deliver value for teams participating in them. Just given the nature of our sport, it's a little harder to televise. It's a little harder to have a fans 10. So when the sport gets even more fragmented like this, it just further challenges the opportunity for people to create media around it and really create a compelling show and TV package around it. Because as you pointed out, the racers are now split all up. We're not getting the best racers at the best events. Score outside of score, we're not getting all of that. And it's really sad to see kind of the state. And I somewhat sympathize. Everyone thinks they can do it better. And so they're all trying to do, what they think is best, but there's no cohesiveness. There's no strategy. There's no one working together to try and streamline the sport and really grow it. Right now, everyone's kind of just doing what they think is best.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of why I wanted to put the show together, because a lot of people have been saying these things the last, year, the last few months specifically, really. So I don't know what we can change as a sport, but I am stoked because some of the promoters are going to come on here. So I think we actually have a couple, so I'm going to add them on in a minute here. But, maybe we can have a discussion and see if there's something we can do to, make the scheduling better, get some people to combine some events or races, just make it better. I mean, I remember when Parker had like 300 entries, right? Or Laughlin, for example. Laughlin was the of the year. Remember, like Score Laughlin. Yeah. Everybody was there. There was like 30 helicopters in the air, right? Like everyone had a helicopter. Like it was awesome. That was a 2-day event. everybody was there. Like Best in the Desert just had a Laughlin race and there was 60 people there, you know? So how do we get back to having these big events in the US? You know, what can we do to put on a big event in the US and get racers there? Because honestly, it's no fun when there's nobody in your class. Like who wants to go race against 2 or 3 people in your class? You know,
I think one of the challenges that the promoters here have had, and you know, I specifically kind of pick on Best in the Desert, is there was really not a new race. You know, the races kind of got tired. People get kind of tired of racing the same track. I mean, that's why everyone loves to go to Baja. The races are, for the most part, you know, different routes and different sections at each race. You know, even if it's the same race, you're racing new stuff, and people love that, right? When you've raced, you know, Barstow, or you've raced, you know, Parker for the same track for the last, you know, 10 years, it gets a little stale. And I think innovation needed to happen in the US race, and it really hasn't. I credit Martelli's for, you know, coming out, at least kind of bringing Barstow back and trying new something there. You know, they're definitely trying to kind of bring out some new tracks. So I think that's a big part of the problem we're having here.
Yeah. Well, I see a couple people here, so I'm going to add some people in. I think we got BJ and Laura here from Vora, so they're here, and then we have some legacy people. It looks like also. So it looks like Mark Donald is supposed to join us at some point, so we'll see if he's here. And everybody, unmute yourselves when you come in, or I have to unmute maybe.
You have to unmute them.
Yep. All right. Let's see. We got BJ there. BJ, you got your audio on, or Laura?
I do.
There we go. Let's see, BJ, you got to connect with your audio there. We're gonna have this problem throughout the day probably today. So you guys,
you're really lacking a producer here to help you with this.
I try to do everything, right?
I know.
It's kind of hard. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So Laura, tell everybody who you guys are. Maybe BJ will get his sound figured out.
Yeah. Hey, I'm Laura Butcher. BJ and I own and run Vora Off-Road Racing. That's Valley Off-Road Race Association. It's been around since 1975. We primarily do desert and short course racing in California and Nevada.
Perfect. All right. And then you guys just had a race this last weekend where you guys teamed up with Legacy. Actually, how did that go for people that weren't watching? It was
fantastic. Yeah, we teamed up with Legacy to do the Gold Rush race. It was a 350-mile race from Virginia City to Tonopah, and we had well over 100 entries, and it was amazing. I mean, the vibe was great. The racers were all so upbeat, so happy to be there. It was a good time.
Yeah. I mean, that's pretty cool. I like the combination of everything. You know, I think that's what we need.
Yeah. Laura, when you say you partnered, what was the general reason for the partnership, and how did you partner? What was each of you bringing to the table to kind of make this work? It's awesome to see you guys working together, but maybe for the fans at home and the other promoters, like explain how you did it and what the genesis for that was.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is something we'd wanted to do for quite a few years now. We had originally tried to do it the year before, and unfortunately we weren't able to obtain the BLM permit. But this year we came into it with a different approach, and we were successful. So it was a really great way to kind of show that it can still be done. You know, we were both like really feeling like we wanted to kind of tackle some of the main concerns that everybody has right now in, you know, the off-road community with all of the drama that goes on, and we wanted to be able to you know, pull our racers together and just kind of work on that community between the two of us and our base of racers and fans. I helped write the operating permit. It was Legacy's BLM permit. I wrote the operating plan for it and assisted because they weren't originally granted permission through BLM. So I wrote the operating plan. I also helped facilitate a lot of the road closure permits with INDOT and secured all of the Virginia City type, you know, road closures and just facilitating that with the community, the sheriff's department, the businesses there. And the race finished in an OHV staging area that I just finished building with my full-time job with Tread Lightly. So we just completed that about 3 weeks ago, and it was really cool to actually finish the race there.
Very interesting. From your perspective, was that one of the more successful races you guys have done now, or is it something that you want to do again, replicate?
Yeah, no, it was a very successful race. It was definitely one of the bigger ones we've had. I think the only one that we've had more numbers wise was back in like 2020. But it was one of our biggest, and it was, like I said, extremely well received. So we absolutely are looking to do that again. We are excited.
Who made the first move?
Well, it was kind of interesting. I don't know if this is all going to get me in trouble, but I'm just going to be honest about it. So when BJ and I over Vora about 6 years ago, we kind of had it in our heads that we wanted to do sort of like along the same lines as Vegas to Reno, but going the other direction and maybe throw in some different stuff. So at the time, Donald was still with Best in the Desert. And we had talked to him about it. And then fast forward a few years, and we still had the idea, and we decided to go ahead with it. So, you know, that's it. It's just been kind of a goal that we've had for quite a while. It just took that long to make it come to fruition.
Perfect. And it looks like we got a couple more people joining us. I think Donald himself, if he unmutes there, I think I asked him too. And then we have, it looks like one of the Snore vice president is now joining also. So we got some more organizations coming on here. This is pretty cool to see. Let's see if we could get Donald unmuted here. All the technology people are not super up on the Zoom thing all the time, right?
How are we doing, Fish?
There he is. There's Donald. What's going on, Donald?
I'm doing great. How are you today?
Good to see you. Good to see you today, and thanks for coming on the show. We were just catching up with Laura, and you guys had a joint venture last weekend that she was kind of telling us about.
Yeah, we did. We did the Gold Rush, Virginia City to Tonopah, 346 miles. I think it turned out great. I had a great time working with Laura and BJ, great people, including the whole Vora staff. And it was a huge success. You know, lots of people look at it entry-wise, maybe who showed up, whatnot. Yeah, for me, I look at all of our participants went home to their family. Nobody went to the hospital. They went up banged and bruised. Some bodies, some pride, but everybody went home to their families, and that's a huge success in my opinion.
Yeah, that's definitely a big success. And I think, you know, it's cool that you guys are also racing new areas. You know, Travis, you kind of talked about that earlier. Like people were kind of getting maybe on board with stagnant races in the same area all the time, the same loop. So I know you guys are kind of mixing it up. So what's your goal with kind of mixing it up a little bit?
Well, I think that's exactly right. You run the same thing over and over, and it does get stagnant. So things that BJ and I talked about were course markings. He's going to do a little different stuff with his stuff. And same with us. We're just keep trying new areas and trying to see what works better. And it gives people different opportunities to see different parts of the state. We had so many people comment how cool Virginia City is. And they've been up there hundreds of times, but have never stopped. So giving that experience and letting them see a different part of Nevada is pretty awesome. And to be able to share those memories with family. Yeah,
that's definitely cool. Definitely something interesting. Are you guys planning on doing more of these combined races or anything?
We got some things in the work. There's some big news coming. We're not sure how everything's going to shake out yet, but like I said before, from the legacy side, we're super pumped to work with Laura and BJ and the entire Vora team, and we'll see what comes for 2024.
All right, very, very cool. Yeah, that'll definitely be good to see. John, if you guys have anything for Snore, I don't think your audio is connected. Maybe you want to try and reconnect again and get your audio working if you want to do something there. Let's see. We have Brian. I'm not sure if that's Brian. This is the thing with people's names on here. It is Brian. All right, let's unmute Brian. We have Best in the Desert now here also. So that's cool to see everybody here. Let's see. Brian, you got it on mute. You get click on mute and then we'll be good to go. Let's see, unmute. There we go.
What's happening, Austin?
Hey, Brian, what's going on? Thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we're kind of just going over with everyone right now, like last couple races, kind of plans for next year, what everybody has going on. What's going on with Best in the Desert for next year? How are you guys looking? You guys mixed anything up? Anything new, exciting coming?
First of all, grinding it out on the daily, Austin. Yeah, for 2024, we've condensed our schedule, shortened it. Feel like it's the right thing to do for Best in the Desert and perhaps the right thing to do for the community. There's just a lot of racing out there right now, a lot to pick and choose from. I think it's semi-diluted in the United States and or at least on the West Coast here. So we thought we would take a little different angle and shorten our series and allow us to give each of our events a little more attention than we've been able to give each event in terms of marketing that event and trying to do a better job with that event. You know, when you got a 7, 8, 9 race schedule, you're basically going from race to race, and there's no pause or timeout between races, and that allows, as a promoter, it doesn't allow you to do a very good job of promoting the next event with what you're supposed to be promoting. You're supposed to be promoting your sponsor partners, the event itself. And I certainly noticed over, when you got a big race schedule, you're not able to do that because you're limited in manpower and funding. So you can't grow that manpower. So you're just kind of going, you're running from race to race. So going to a 4-race schedule, we think it'll be better for Best in the Desert. It'll be better for the racing community, and it'll be better for our sponsor partners and allow us to promote the event the way we'd like to promote it.
Yeah, I think that's, one thing that's definitely tough for racers is there is so many races now, and they are so close to each other that it's hard for people to pick and choose what event they want to go do. And I know you guys you're kind of limited, all of you promoters are, to what dates you can actually have races, right? I mean, none of you actually want to put a race right after someone else's race because that's not good for either of you, honestly, right? But sometimes it comes down to BLM permits and what dates you're allowed to do stuff at. So like, you guys want to speak on that at all? How tough is it trying to space out your races with dates given, maybe the like Laughlin only gives you certain dates you can use, BLM, Prim now, we don't know what's going on with Prim. Like, can anybody even go racing at Prim? Right now, we're hearing that no one can even go racing there. So how hard is it as you guys as promoters to set your dates for these races and try not to step on each other's toes at the same time? Any one of you guys can answer. I'll give you all a chance to answer.
I'll be happy to jump in. I mean, you touched on a couple of subjects there. You mentioned Prim, with the situation at Prim. I would guess Donald's pretty engaged in that, being as we're in the Southwest or the southern tip of Nevada, so it's more conducive to what we try to do as opposed to Vora. That's a whole subject in itself. I mean, obviously at the moment it's at a absolute standstill. I've spoke to the powers that be. I have a pretty good idea of what's going on there. Not to say that it won't reopen, but I think if it does, it will change, not drastically, but it'll be different than what we've been able to do in the past in terms of come and race on their land without A, having to pay a fee, and B, with just the options, the opportunities we've had there. Again, I'm not really going to speak to it because it's still up in limbo. I know attorneys are looking at it, the powers that be, the ownership's looking at it. It could reopen, maybe it doesn't, but if it does reopen, I will guarantee you it will look much different than it's been in the past. With regards to scheduling, yeah, I guarantee you, Donald and BJ and Laura, they get the same questions we get and the same comments and disappointment from racers calling, why do you have to schedule so close to that event, or you guys are right on top of you. The reality is I personally been doing this for 6 years now, since 2017, and I can tell you I begin scheduling for the new year, the year to come. I start around March and April, and it's a very difficult thing to do. Very, very difficult. Especially with more racing series, and it's hard. It's hard. Your goal is to get as far away from everybody as you can, but the further you get away from this race, the closer you get to that race. So it's a difficult thing to do. I mean, I build a big spreadsheet and put everybody's calendar, their schedules on there. We try to stick to traditional dates. And I'm sorry, Travis, you had a question?
Yeah, you guys, I mean, let's frame it differently. Right now, you're all offering essentially the same product to your customers, which are the racers. The only varying point is where it is, right? It's all racing and it's all off-road racing, and you might like racing in Tonopah more or Prim or wherever, but that's essentially the point of differentiation, because there's no real media, There's no real, live stream. There's no TV package. There's minimal amenities outside of the event. So how do you guys right now, you seem to all be so caught up on like who's racing where and the schedule, but like, have you thought about actually trying to offer a different product to your consumers? Meaning maybe you're not the racer for everyone, but you're going after professionals, or you're going after the weekend warrior types. I mean, and offering and pricing your services based on what your amenities are, and really trying to look at it more as a business that you're trying to differentiate from your competition outside of just racetracks and dates. What's the approach and what's your thought process around any of that? And how can you start to worry less about dates and offering more like, hey, I'm going to, cater towards a higher end consumer or customer, or I'm going to, go towards a lower end customer who just wants to go race and have fun. Where does that factor into your planning, your thought process?
Right. I'll jump in on this one. So Vora, traditionally, we've always been kind of the place that we like to think that people can start and even in some cases finish out their race careers. We very much catered to people new to the sport, people trying to get into it, get some experience. That's why we try really hard to keep, our races smaller, our prices low, things like that, to be able to accommodate that. And then we really like to see as people kind of get older, and a lot of times their kids or even their grandkids are looking to come into it, they oftentimes want to come back and be able to start doing that with the next generation of their family.
Yeah, and I'll finish with Laura on that as well. As I think she's exactly right. Getting to know them, they don't do point-to-point races. They're loop races, so it's more on the lower end budget side of things. Racers to get started, racers to finish off the careers, and then you have the middle part where we pick up people that want to do point-to-point that can do the chase races that are a little bit different from everybody else. And I think keeping dates are important in mind, because not only is it the racer, but it's also the sponsor and the brand partnerships we have, because there's only so many brands that support our off-road racing series amongst all the promoters. So you have to take that into account too, is don't forget about those guys that are providing the product to make the racer race legally and safely. So don't step on everybody's toes to where they have to pick and choose on which event they're going each weekend.
Yeah, that's definitely a good point right there that we haven't touched on either. There's only so many vendors out there. So when you have these vendors and contingency sponsors that are having to go to race, they're having to spend, more money now than they ever have before. And they're getting less return at each race because there's less racers at each race. So it's costing them more to go to all these races. They're going to have to start pick and choosing which ones they really go to, So that's definitely a big thing. And I see Dave with King of the Hammers there. You've joined, Dave. How's it going, Dave?
Pretty good. I'm sorry to crash your Black Panther party, but my phone started blowing up. You should join this. So I'm listening. I mean, I'm hearing all the sides. I've heard all this. Like, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
keep going. I'm not. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
All right. Well, glad you can make it. Yeah. I mean, so back to your question, Travis, like, what can we do to make it more exciting at some of these events? Can we get more of you guys to team up together, maybe to put on a bigger event so that everybody can go to one big event? Or do we just have to battle it out? Or like, I don't know, what can we do to make it more fun again and, more exciting for everybody?
Well, I think Laura kind of gave a great answer in that they have a very specific consumer they're trying to attract, right? And that's how they're trying to build their races around it. And it's maybe more coordination between promoters on, who's trying to put on what type of race and attract that type of customer, so that the schedule aligns, so that they're not all fighting for the same customer and the customers kind of know which races they're gravitating towards. Then how do they work together to foster that? Is it that they race so many years in VOR, then they can qualify for a Best in the Desert or legacy race or the King of the Hammers event? Where does that like natural progression from the consumer happen? How do you, it's one of the scary parts, but what's awesome about our sport is anyone can go buy a trophy truck and go race, right? But that's also a big, potential safety issue with people that aren't experienced. So how do someone who buys a truck, how do they connect with guys who bought a new truck, say, hey, well, you got to go race in VOR and start there and work your way? I mean, that seems like there could be some low-hanging fruit and coordination amongst the promoters to kind of establish that a little bit and help guide that consumer. To her point, when someone buys a new UTV, they don't know where they're going to go race. So how do we shift them your way? And then she shifts them to somewhere else? How do we start helping kind of make that transition? I see Dave's got his hand up.
I think you're asking the people on this call to solve trophy truck problems, and that's not anybody on this call's problem. It really is no offense, but that's not the audience you have here. They can solve that problem. The fact that we don't have licenses is just what you're starting is the rabbit hole that actually ends up with we need a sanctioning body, and which goes a whole different conversation, a whole different way. But licensing, insurance, tell me anybody on here has that thinks getting insurance is the fun part of their job. It's easy. It's not a big deal, and it's going to get cheaper by the day. It's going to be impossible pretty soon. We're not going to get insurance at all. But the way to solve that is by working with a sanctioning body. There's a whole bunch more to this that isn't just about this, but it all dovetails together. But I believe and I really didn't come in here to be like, hey, let's look at me and listen to me on this one. But I believe we need to be all under USAC or an equivalent sanctioning body that helps us get our rules correctly in the right way. It helps us deal with the inevitable business things that happen when we're all doing business here. There's 4 of us I see on the screen. There's 5 of us on the screen right now, and I'm sure there's more. I don't even know who else is here, but I know that my life's been easier because I can get insurance through USAC. I can't imagine if I was still going event by event right now trying to get insurance. And I know it's hard because I was there. I believe that we need to work together as a culture to be able to solve that for each other. But I believe Laura kind of nailed it. They are hitting their demographic. Their demographic is not anybody but exactly who it is, of people that want to go out and have a good time doing the things in their area at a relatively low cost and be able to not be able to experience the thrill of off-road racing without having to be in the deep end of the pool with the sharks. I believe that's your thing. And I'm no offense if it's not, Laura, because if it's not, you're nailing that perfectly.
You're totally correct. Yes. I don't want to be you guys. I've never wanted to be you guys. It's not what I'm trying to do.
No,
I care more about off-road on the whole.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yeah,
And I think there's
have different facets for it. We have different. Yeah, exactly.
But I think my point was not just the trophy truck guys, but how do we then funnel people who are just starting out to Laura's Way? Like they don't have any business to go do some big race. They haven't been there.
Two different ways. One of them that you can impact directly, Travis, is one is just, again, getting us under one path or one ladder, one way, but we'd be ignoring the obvious massive opportunity we have if we didn't embrace the UTV OEMs in that process to build a youth racing league and a youth racing culture and process. But before the OEMs can do that, the OEMs have to agree they actually are in the same business together and they have a common direction to go, which means, are we building what is the end goal for us as a culture? What are we trying to do? And that's, it's engine size, it's oversized, like what's the purpose and where do we want to go? Agree upon a common mission, the same way OEMs did with NASCAR, right? The big 3 then came together on a plan around sedans and all. You think our cars weren't shaped that way by accident?
Yeah.
So
I think, like what you're talking about, Dave, that was one of the other topics I had here on my list was how do we get the rules and the classes to be the same in all these series so somebody can just get one car and go race whatever series they want and they're in the same class. I don't know if that's possible, but like that would be awesome. Ask any racer and they all want that, right? Like they all want to be able to run the same numbers, the same classes. Like right now it's all over the place. Nobody has the same rules as anybody else. Every class name is different. Every numbering system is different. Like they're all different. Is there any way? Is that what you're saying, Dave? We have to
eliminate amongst us promoters the exact same thing that proliferates amongst all the racers, because we were all racers at one time, which is ego and greed. I want to win and I want to be the best and I am the best. And that means I don't need to listen to Laura. I don't need to talk to Brian. I can watch Brian do whatever Brian needs to do because we're not in it together. And until we all get in this together, we are not going to go anywhere. Laura's going to go someplace and Brian's going to go someplace and Snore's going to go someplace and Donald Legacy's going to go someplace and I'm going to go someplace, but we ain't going anywhere because we ain't we. So until we decide we are we, We're just sitting here talking shit like we do every other day. And guess what? That we doesn't just mean us as promoters. That means we as drivers, and we are all together on this. And when we decide what we want to do, then we can accomplish it. But right now, a whole bunch of eyes are accomplishing what the eyes set out to do. And the biggest and best and richest and most successful eyes are going to keep succeeding. And until we decide to do something, we will keep failing. We have time to get into all that because that's what we need to solve.
So Austin, really quick,
Yep.
I'll jump in here. You just mentioned something about the racers, how the racers would like every organization to have the same set of rules. Okay, I get that, and I understand the need and the desire for that. However, you alluded to the word racer, and just like Dave just alluded to, is you're talking about a bunch of egos. Okay. Most racers have a big ego, especially the higher up the ladder you go, the bigger the ego is. Okay. And what I've noticed from racers is they want what they want and they want it now. Okay. So you ask this group of racers, what rules do you like? And this is what they want. And then another group over here, they want different rules. So every racer would like those rules to tailor to himself.
Brian, can I interject? They also want strong leadership, and strong leadership doesn't go back and forth every year. Strong leadership figures out what you want to be in 10 years, and you manage to 10 years out from now. You don't take every phone call and listen to everybody bitch it. You are the next sponsor or anybody else. You don't worry about dates or who, if anybody's come to your series or the next series. You just be better.
Right.
If you're just
I would say
better,
don't let the tail wag the dog.
Exactly.
So none of that matters, Brian. Anybody that's any racer that's calling at you and telling you to change the rules is not the person you should be listening to.
I
You
concur.
should be listening to the 80% of the people that don't call you and don't tell you to change the rules. And you'll find out that things go along a lot better. Because if you move every time the 5% ask you to move, you go nowhere except in circles. So stop taking those phone calls. Trust me, there's a rough period. You know, it's about a decade where everybody thinks you're just an asshole. But after a while, they just stop calling you, man. It's okay.
Well, so on the Vora side of things, I'm very much open and amicable to that. And I don't know how Donald's going to feel about this, but we're already very much working on being part of that solution together. And I'm happy to, do the same with anyone else.
Come up with it. You guys rule it. You know what I mean? No matter what you do, you're not going to change. Trophy truck's got to go to trophy truck, and it's got to go to be F1 and everything else, and it's got to go do its thing. What we're talking about here, what this group is and what this group represents is the culture of off-roading, not the sport of off-road racing. We have to be stewards of the culture of off-road racing. We have to provide a place for people to start and learn not to throw your trash on the ground, learn how to respect your peers, learn how to not to do this and that, and learn how to be good. General and people like off-roading started with. We need to do that. Let somebody else, somebody that's not any of us, figure out how to make Rob McCaffrey look faster than Andy McMillan. That's not our problem. Our problem is trying to find a kid that's 10 years old and have him not be a brat, leaving his trash on the trail, getting our areas closed down or worse, dead. That is our responsibility. None of us are going to get rich doing this. None of us are ever going to be super popular or happy, but we are signing up to do this. None of us have gotten the golden ticket to sign up to be shaking hands with somebody with a gold-studded watch and stand in Vegas with Formula One. None of us got that lottery ticket. And if you think you're going to get that lottery ticket by being on this conference call, I think that conference call starts at 3 p.m. Pacific, but I'm not sure because I didn't get invited to that one either. But I would suggest that we worry about us, which is what we can worry about, which means we, the people on this group on this call, can put all the shit aside because we have 95% of the racers coming to our race. So stop being fragmented, stop messing up, stop fighting each other on everything, agree on a common path, and let the 26 people that drive really expensive trucks that don't come to our races go someplace else.
Well, I think Dave just nailed it. And how do you work together? So the point of this whole call, how do we get the different groups to work better together? How does Dave and Brian and Donald and Laura and all those people, how do we work better together. And then to my question earlier, how do you differentiate? What is it that, if you're all going to still continue to work together, you have to offer some sort of differentiation or product that, caters toward a different consumer, or you're always gonna be fighting over dates and, who's marketing their races the best. So,
But they're not going to. Travis, stop. They're not going to. There's not a dearth of opportunity to race right now. There isn't. In fact, there might be an oversupply of places to race right now. And there's no reason why we can't figure out a way to provide a better product and all of us stay in a culture to keep doing this. But the reality of it is that keep differentiate, this whole differentiation model. I get what you're saying, but you're talking about two different things. One part of you wants to talk about differentiation and make it professional with coverage and make it valuable and monetizable. I can't wait to talk about that too, because there's a place for that and there's really good things coming. But this conversation is about getting safe races that happen in places that people can go to them at a reasonable price so they can understand racing. Because I'm sorry, nobody, including myself on this call, is responsible for professional racing. That's a fact. And if we thought we wouldn't be talking like this. We need to that's a differentiation. Stop trying to catch up with other people, work amongst each other, develop a badass year of racing, and get more people to race. And if you create that funnel bigger and better, then more people will come and they'll never stop. I had 62 rookies here this weekend. 62 rookies. If you guys had 60 rookies at every race, it wouldn't make a difference, would it? You're only going to get the rookies. You only get rookies by keep performing on course. Go do it. They'll come in spades. Everybody drives a truck or an SUV and everybody wants a UTV. There's racing everywhere.
Yeah.
Sorry, Travis.
Well,
I don't mean to undermine. I'm sorry. I really don't want to undermine your direction of the mission. Maybe
no, I don't think you're quite following. I'm just saying everything you're saying, I think everyone agrees with, but what's the practical execution to get all of you to work together?
What's the action item that we can
what's
do?
the action item? That's all I'm saying. Like, that's all I'm trying to get to. Like, what is it? How do we
come together
in a bad way?
Come together like we did right after the California 200. Agree upon how a race should be run from the base. Start from the beginning. The flag's green, right? Yep, it's green. Okay, cool. We're going to use a green flag this time. So let's start from there and go all the way out to the checkered flag. Let's agree upon how a race should be run. Let's talk about the different levels of racers. Let's talk about how we get to a place of having a licensing for racers. Let's talk about how we can be a part of that process. So we can help grow racers so they can become professional race car drivers someplace. But we need to get together, and nobody, USAC isn't going to be able to insure us if we're all over the map on how we run a race. And we all want to run a safe race. And quite honestly, we've all come from the same family tree of where we came from, right? I mean, like, I learned a lot from marking course from following Casey around. You know, I was fortunate to be around some of the same people. We know how to mark a course, so we know how to run a race. We almost all run them relatively the same. You know, obviously, when we have more people places, we handle it differently. That's not a big deal. Some places it is. We agree how we run a race. What we do. The real thing is, none of us really are race directors. I look around here. No offense, John. John, I don't think I've met you very much in person. And Donald, I don't know that I've ever actually shook your hand and met you in person. But if I have, I'm sorry, bud.
No worries.
But what I'm getting at is, I believe that we are all promoters or event directors, and we aren't race directors. And I think we should go to someone like USAC. We should agree upon the right way to run a race. Let them handle our risk and mitigation. Let them handle the things that make the big box companies go away from our sport, because they're scared of them. They're scared of risk. I guarantee you guys, none of the people that want the $700,000 sponsors don't have the insurance policy that's going to pull it. And Travis, do you remember when we actually started getting to big level sponsors? It was a massive jump for me that almost broke us 9 years ago to get to the point of having the infrastructure to be able to carry the amount of insurance for them. Does that make sense? So take that risk away. Go to USAC. let's all go to USAC together and say,
Hey,
hey,
Dave, maybe explain to everyone listening at home why USAC is a good solution for insurance, and why you keep referencing them.
so USAC is the United States Auto. I didn't realize we had other people at home. I thought I was talking to 7 people.
There's 420 people listening at home.
That's a good number. I like 420. 420 is a great number. Good luck charm. Here we go. So USAC is United States Auto Club. And without going to the too deep end of the pool, United States Auto Club is one of 6 clubs in the United States that are the purveyors of professional motorsports on the North American continent, all repping back to the FIA. And most people don't realize that, but we all roll up under FIA anyway. USAC is one of the 6. The other 6 are NHRA, IMSA, SCCA, CART, NASCAR. I'm forgetting one of the things. I think I said one of them twice, but there's 6 of them. All the 6, you know. They're all nonprofits, 501c6s, which means they're there to serve their charter members. And as a member of USAC, we all become charter members, in effect mitigating and sharing that risk across the board. It also lets us roll up preferred and best practices. It lets us find the best way to do things. It lets us, it keeps you out of the woods of all the things race directory. Like, I like engine packages, like I don't like this guy, but I like that guy, and that guy's mad at me now, so he's not going to come race. Well, no, you're waving the green flag and the checkered flag, and you're getting people to come to your race. That's the differentiation. Let USAC run a race. At the end of the day, like, I'll tell you this, USAC at King of the Hammers, they have 6 people. I have 400 people on course. Well, 250 this year, 250 people on course. They had 6 people on site, but those 6 people managed the 225, the other 25 were not race related. So you don't have to, you're still going to use your staff. You're still going to use your people. You still use your core family that's been coming 20 years. But you not only, you'll be able to unify your classes. You'll be able to represent as a group to the OEMs, i.e. Ford, Chevy, all those guys, as well as the other OEM that was born around us. Because you get the fact that the UTV only exists here, right? Like,
yeah,
a Polaris RZR a Razor was born the same year as King of the Hammers. And they were born in Southern California as well. And they don't know about them the rest of the world. The same way they didn't understand what a NASCAR was either. There isn't a Can-Am sales rep in Africa. There isn't a Can-Am sales rep in India or South America, I don't think either.
yeah.
When they do catch on, those OEMs are going to wish they had some more refined infrastructure, because think about it, if we can't get this shit right, how are they going to deal with UTV rules problems in Botswana when they start racing in Botswana? Because they're going to, it's going to take them 20 years.
Yeah.
They're
Well,
going to, and they're going to have a shit show.
As far as
we are the leaders of that. Let's lead.
So as far as like an action item, maybe we could, I'm glad you guys all came today, and thanks again for coming on here, but maybe we can at least just can we get, some talking between you guys, or just something, maybe taking some of Dave's points, thinking about it. Maybe you guys get on a conference call with each other, not on here, obviously, have a group email or something and just try to figure it out. I'm looking at the comments here, and everybody is talking about having the same set of rules, and they would all love all this stuff. So I think we're on a good path here. Obviously, we could talk about this all day long. But can you guys agree to do a group chat or something, at least a group email or something? What do you guys
think? WhatsApp chat message,
send the other 420 people home now, and we'll keep talking right now.
No, Dave, we have a show. I got to do the rest of the show too today, but
would this be started, like us meeting together and then bringing USAC in, or would USAC come in and then facilitate from there? How does that work, Dave?
I work directly with USAC, and I have for 15 years. So USAC sanctions every bit of off-road except for you guys. Every bit. All of rally, all of short course, all of Ultra 4. FIA has the rest of the world of motorsports. They do all on-road course. The only professional and only motorsports in the world that doesn't fall under FIA is the 5 boxes I'm looking at. Okay. So yeah, just call me and I'll get Kevin Miller on the call and we can figure out a way to go better.
Perfect.
All right. Well, who else is going to be at SEMA? Let's meet up
Yeah.
there.
I'll be at SEMA. I just got off the phone with Jason Smith, who's the vice president of USAC, and he's meeting me there to talk about our race ops.
Well, I'll be
I
there.
will-
I'll be
I
on
will
a
create
panel of
a,
speakers.
I will create a second meeting at USAC. I
Hey,
mean,
Mitch, maybe-
at SEMA that will,
Yeah.
you guys get there. I'll program it with Jason Smith and we'll figure out a place.
Hey, Fish, maybe you can put them on a text and get them all each other's numbers, and that'll be your big
I'm
contribution.
sure they all
to the
have it.
sport. Yeah.
We all have it.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. All right. Well, I thank you guys for coming on. We're going to move on to another section, unless you guys have anything else you want to say. Anybody else in closing words? Donald, do you have anything you want to say in closing words to this?
Well, sure. I think Vora and Legacy are on the right path. As in we are starting to work on our rules together. And I won't speak for Brian, but I just talked to him a few minutes ago and we're on the same path for 6,100. So I think to answer the comments on there that some rules should need to be unified, guys, we are trying to work on it and work together and move forward with the same type of rules for all sanctioning bodies.
Right. We're working on unifying numbering systems, rules, classes, all of the stuff that we hear you guys. We hear the racers. So, working on being part of that solution as we speak.
Perfect. Brian, did you have anything you wanted to say in closing there? I think you're muted right now, but you can unmute it. Let me find him. Oh, we got Robbie on here now too. Another, we got Nora on here now, right at the end.
Well, hang on 1 second. I was listening to Dave and I wanted to make sure that when we add the seventh box, we have 2 series that are under USAC.
Oh, here we go.
I forgot about that, Robbie. Yes.
David, how could you forget about me?
Forget about you. You've been erstwhile over in Australia and doing donuts, man. I didn't forget about you. I have my Robbie Gordon poster right above my bed.
Oh no, that's a little too much. All right, now you're crossing into the danger zone. But even when we went to Australia, you just said something that just triggers that. But when we went to Australia with Stadium Super Truck, USAC still sanctioned us.
That's correct.
So Jason Smith and his guys went over there and they still sanctioned us when we did that. So, I do believe USAC is a very, very good option for race series. I think that would combine all of our rules pretty easy. I don't know if Travis is going to like my Pro 2000 rule that I'm going to push through USAC. But besides that, everything else will probably be okay.
I'm sure it's designed just for Max.
Hey, I wish you guys would have brought those cars down last weekend. I look forward to putting those things up against each other for sure.
Yep, it'll be fun.
Yeah. Hey, really quick. Sorry, Travis. Austin, I was muted there for a while and somehow I got unmuted. I just want to say I've had conversations with Dave, Travis. I see the value in USAC and I see how it can integrate us or make us as off-road race promoters, make us more work together better. I see the value there. And Dave, I'd if you're going to put together a meeting with USAC at SEMA, I would be glad to be invited to that.
Fantastic. Then I'll get it set up.
There you go. See, we're already in the works.
Perfect. All right. Something's happening, maybe in theory.
Great job to Fish for organizing. So thank you, buddy.
Yeah, appreciate it, Fish. Good job. Thanks for co-hosting, Travis.
Yeah, thank you guys for joining. We're gonna go on. Robbie, you can stay on if you want. You might have some opinions on this one. We're gonna talk about some other things here. You guys can jump off whenever you want, or you guys can stay on. I'm gonna add some more people in a minute. One of the next hot topics is gonna be the 6100 class and rules. Now, you guys don't have to stay. You can stay if you want. Whatever you guys want to do. The rules are all over the place.
Are you talking about content production at any point today?
No, not specifically.
Are we going to talk about the value of content and how we devalue it by asking for $0 and you can't get $1 if you ask for $0 every day?
Thank you, Dave.
Well, all right, let's talk about that real quick.
I know where Austin's heading. He's going on a conversation we had about a year ago. So obviously, you didn't just dream this stuff up on your own. But you know, I like the direction. I told you where I think we need to go. And I think Dave hit it on the nail on the head. And to get off-road to the right level, we need to have some part of a unified group that are all going to play by the same rules. Because what happens is if you ask for 0, you bring the level down to 0. If you set some standards and everybody gets the standards up with sponsorship and professionalism, we can make this thing a professional sport. We really can.
I have a farther spin than that though, Robbie, not just the ethereal kind of let's all play together. My thing is we create content and our distribution point for that content is on free internet, which means everybody is seeing our content. We set the value of that content at 0, except it wasn't 0. Now it's negative $1.2 million in the case of King of the Hammers. That's how much it costs to make the live show. So at that point, we've made a $1.2 million show that was worth nothing because I didn't charge anybody for it. Right? Fair. And I'm not charging because it's marketing dollars. Other people don't charge for it for whatever reasons. But for me, it's a marketing opportunity. I want to get more people to watch. That being said, we need to stop doing that. As racers individually, as content creators in general, when we set the value of our content, we need to be able to tie it together so it has value. Watching Bryce race the Herps on 2 different channels isn't as valuable as watching Bryce race the Herps on the same screen. It's not as valuable.
1000%.
So we need to aggregate our data, tie it together, work together as a group. Back to the we do that. We create a 501c6. Robbie, I know you know all about 501c6s. So we need to create a 501c6 that puts our content there and manage our charters.
Yeah. So
when we decide you want to do that, I'll give you world.dirt, which I created 2 months ago federally and in the state of California as a 501c6. And I don't want any parts of it. I want to give it to the off-road culture, but you have to figure out that that's where we need to go.
Are you talking about me individually or us as a group?
I'm talking about individually. Individually, we need to decide that we need to be a we, Robbie, which is the part of the conversation that was happening before you got on. And inevitably, the we starts becoming I's. And at this point, we are very much still in a need to be a we, and always will be. So that's my point. And I believe that it should be based the same way every other professional motorsports based, which is based on a 501c6 charter-based nonprofit. The same way every single one is. It would mitigate our risk. It would manage our content. It would group us together in a manageable and also lobby, a group that can lobby as well. We would have power together as a group.
Yeah. Well, I think everybody, would agree that more coverage is better for everybody. And, I do want to hear from some racers too. So I'm going to add in some more people in the waiting room here, because that's what this thing was about today, right? We're going to let everybody get an opinion. So I'm just going to add in some random people at any time. If any of you guys want to sign off, go for it. If you want to stay on, like I said, you can. But let's hear from some more random people, some racers here, and see what they think about content, like what you're talking about, Dave. I think everybody wants more content. When you go to a race, like Dave or whoever it was, or Brian, I think it was you, said everybody has really big egos, a lot of racers, right? So they want to be seen everywhere, right? They want to be
I was talking about us at that time. I was talking about us with the egos.
Yeah. Oh, well, but racers too, right? Everybody wants to be seen going the fastest through main pit. They want to be the fastest everywhere, right? They want to win. They want to do everything. How do you do that? By being seen. So yeah. So we'll add in a couple here. We got Kevin McGillray, looks like here. We can unmute him. I know he's a racer. We got Scott Rain. He's been around for a while. And we got a couple racers here. We'll see what they have to say to a couple things. But what I was going on earlier was that 6100 class kind of spec class thing. I know, Robbie, you had some ideas on this type thing. It would be cool to get a big group like that going that went to different races, did like their own series, maybe a coalition, that whole thing, get some more just coverage of the whole thing, right, Robbie?
I guess you could call it franchise off-road, maybe. I don't know.
Oh, there you go. How would that work? All right, guys. So thanks for joining. Other guys here. we'll get some more added in. Let's see, who else do we have here? Joseph Merrill. We got a couple more racers. Get them unmuted here. All right, so Joseph, it looks like you and Brian are muted still. Kevin, what's going on, Kevin? What class are you? Race a 6100 truck, don't you?
Oh, no, I have raced about everything, and I have an ID Designs trophy truck.
Oh, that's what it is.
Jimco
Okay.
Class 10 car, and I just bought another single seat Jimco 10 car this morning. So, yeah, I've been addicted for years. Listening to the previous conversation, I feel compelled to say, as a consumer, I do not want communistic off-road racing. I want choice. I'm going to go where the best promoters are, the safest races, the best organized, and the fairest races. I don't want to put the priorities in the wrong sequence. It's great to have coverage, and it's great to see what's going on at the same time, but I think you need to step back and decide what's the most important things, not from a marketing perspective, but from an entry perspective. I have done about every job there was to do volunteering for my great friend Casey Folks at Best in the Desert. I have run checkpoints for Snore in the 70s. I have done the 1,000 more times than I think I want to remember. My first race was July of 1976. All right, I can't stop, and I'm not going to stop. Just sponsored my old race partner, who's as old as me, and a young kid to race the Legacy race last weekend in a nice Jimco 10 car. I believe in giving to the sport as a participant. So I was in the timing bus with Dave Broom. I was at the finish line shaking hands with Casey. I know what I feel racers are important at every level. The person that rides up on a quad, or the crazy guy that decided to race a snowmobile. It's not all people with trophy trucks. That is an obscene amount of money. If you build a business model around trophy trucks, you need your head examined. You need rank and file entries to survive as a promoter. I mean, I talked to Casey probably 3 or 4 times a week. And I mean, he kept saying I was the only one that he felt could help make Best in the Desert better. And I was the only one smart enough to know that you shouldn't be a promoter. I have respect for the heart and soul that every promoter goes through. But it's not all about clicks and likes and marketing. And I don't want one promoter. I want to see competition. I want to have a cool event like Legacy did, where it's downtown Virginia City. We made memories. You don't want to sit back and say, yeah, it's the same old, same old. You want to have something where you feel like you did something cool and different. And I'd say most racers are that way. They want to look back at their time and money spent and go, wow, I did something really neat. So I kind of beg to differ with the previous direction the conversation was going at. And I get that there are some advantages from an economic standpoint of aggregating certain expenses like insurance. And maybe from a friendship standpoint, you guys could help each other. But my God, I mean, somebody's going to end up on top, and it's the guy with the biggest stick.
Well, can I ask a question? This is coming just based on what you said, and we all grew up in the sport being able to do this, but I was fortunate enough. My dad was in the hay business, and we were able to have some buggies back in the day to start this thing. Did I get lost? Am I still on or am I off?
Yeah, no, you're good.
Okay, just went dark. Sorry. And we grew up in the sport, but at the end of the day, we do have to be able to find sponsorship to be able to afford to do this. And the race promote.
Now we might have lost him.
For marketing,
Somebody should take a poll.
You have to have
of
views.
races that have decent sponsorship.
Yeah, there you go, Robbie. You're back now. You cut out for a second.
I'm sorry. Yeah, what I was saying is, the whole conversation about being unified with insurance, that's just one thing, but the view side of it is very important, because if we don't have eyeballs, we're not going to have sponsorship. Now, do I believe that we need to all be racing trophy trucks? Absolutely not. We just raced UTVs last weekend and had a great time. But we have to have a platform where we can go and compete, and you have to be able to monetize it a little bit, because there's just not that many people that can go off and afford to do this sport without sponsorship or without race winnings. And the only way you get race winnings is through marketing promotions. So, the things that Travis has done and Dave has done to help boost the sport to this level, this is helping off-road grow. But, I do believe we need to have classes where everybody doesn't have to be a trophy truck. But I do believe we need to run professional sports, and we need to have it marketed and promoted where people can actually see it and sponsors can be involved. And if we don't do that, we're always going to be an amateur sport. There's plenty of room for an amateur series to be out there. But I think we all want to see this thing grow so that I wouldn't have to leave off-road racing to go make a living and do IndyCar, NASCAR, Dakar. We did that because that was the place where you could afford to make a living racing. And I think that's what I might be wrong, but there's a lot of people that want to get to that level, and off-road is a great springboard to that. But why do we want to let our athletes leave? Once we build them, we want to have off-road be a recognized sport like IndyCar, NASCAR, Formula One, rally, everything else. And I think the things that Dave Cole has done with King of Hammers has definitely the eyeballs have boosted us. I took Stadium Super Truck and we've got videos that have 180 million views. Are we generating a bunch of sponsorship on it? No. But do people know what we're doing? Yes. And we have full fields, and that, I believe, helps us.
Hey, can I jump in here quick, Sid? Do you mind?
Yeah, go for it.
So he's actually 100% right, but I remember like my first race when I headed to Parker, what really makes the numbers go up are that you cater to the amateurs. The big guys are going to be there. Robbie's going to be there. Rob Mack's going to be there. They're all going to be there. We have to cater to get the numbers up from the 1450 racers, from the guys that are building, trucks in their garage. That's where the numbers come from, in my opinion. I remember when we had 37 1450 trucks at Laughlin once. Like, that was unbelievable. We got to get back to that. I mean, we have the platforms. We got King of the Hammers, Legacy, Bora, all of them. They're all great platforms, but we got to cater to the garage racer again, and somehow generate a way for them to make money, because I used to love it. Even though I spent $5,000 go racing, if I won $500, that at least paid for my gas to get home. So we got to get back to where we can cater to the garage builder again, because in my opinion, I think that's what gets the numbers up when you go to an event.
Yeah, no, for sure. And the number one way to do that, honestly, is with entry fees at a lot of these races, right? That's why you see a Moore race has a lower entry fee. Bora, I'm sure, has a lower entry fee. You're not going to go to Score. They can't afford a $3,000, $5,000 entry fee to go race your 1450 truck. So that's why we really do need these other series to work along, with the other ones, kind of like a feeder series even. So you race that for a little while. And then if you want to go race something, bigger or better down in Mexico, different, then you have to step up. But it's a totally different thing. They're not really competing with each other,
Right. I mean, we can find the match post for that, I think, is what the big deal is. And then, I've actually talked with some of the racers. When we started with Legacy, we got the big names right off the bat. We got Rob McTaggart from Steve Serapis. I'd love to have Robbie there. But now they're saying they don't want to come back if none of the other big racers are coming. So we got to figure out the formula there to make the whole thing gel together, make sure to get the big names, because, just get those numbers up. But every other number will come if we can somehow find that magic formula.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I see Brian Johnson's on here. Maybe you want to step in. You're with the Pro 1600. How do you guys get all the 1600s to decide what race you're going to go do?
I mean, it for us, it's really a product that is put in front of us as the racers. I mean, for us, you ask any 1600 racer right now, what are the two big races? Rage at the River and the Sweet 16 Moore Shootout. Those are the big two. Everybody has those on their calendar circled January 1st when the schedules drop, right? And it's kind of just like an unspoken thing, you know, that we all know that those are going to be the big ones. That's where we show up. And coincidentally enough, Cody and at Moore, and then John up here with Snore, these guys, they see that, they know, okay, that's where we're going to put our big purse money at for the year. I think, you know, kind of just jumping off that, what the challenge is, it's like, you know, we love to hear these great pie in the sky ideas of we all need to unify and we all need this, we all need that. The problem is that what I want from a 1600 car is different than what maybe even a 1400 guy wants, what a trophy truck guy wants, what a class 1 guy wants. And that's why, like, people like Laura, John, Cody from Moore, they put out a specific product for the garage racer, which keeps us coming back again and again and again. Do we like racing the Baja 1000, the Mint 400, Vegas to Reno? Of course we do. But it's not viable to do year round 5 times a year. It's something we do once, maybe every couple years. You know, so while it's great to think of this big unified platform, when you reach for that lowest common denominator, you're going to lose some of that specialness that keeps us coming back to these grassroots things, like things that got us all started. At least that's how I feel.
Yeah, no, definitely. Why do you think that people are choosing those 2 races? Like you said, what's making them want to go to those races over other races? What are the big factors?
Camaraderie. Camaraderie.
Well, can I jump in here for a minute?
Yeah, go ahead. This is John with Snore here, the Snore VP. Go ahead.
I've been sitting back listening for a bit patiently, and it's great to be on here with you guys. There's so many different types of clientele that we have. You know, the blue collar racer has a lot of different levels to it, and clearly a Rage at the River type event, like our Battle at Prim, it's a 2-day event. You can come out with your families, your sponsors, your friends, and race and watch your friends race and help them race. Where on the long course races, you don't really get to do that because we're all working on our own programs. So events like that, for whatever reason, have become, you know, big. I mean, we picked up that race when Score dropped it, and it's really become a good one. And we're so happy even this year that we've got Robbie joining us as a title sponsor, and we've been working hard to try to make sure that goes off without a hitch, and having Matt Laughlin and the Riverside Hotel on with us. But yeah, you know, it's unique where we're at right now. I think the economy obviously has a big impact on guys, what races they choose, and you're finding people that we're in the demographic of people that are chasing series, which aren't so much, don't seem so popular as they used to be, where teams are chasing a series championship. There's the older bunch of us that are chasing fun races, and then there's young people that are chasing championships to build the opportunity to have sponsorships by saying, look, I have a couple of championships there. But we're in a unique time right now, and trying to put on these races. Our Rage at the River right now, we've got Parks and Rec or somebody that came on. It's just somebody else to take another, you know, bit of our money for putting on events. It's going to cost us another 10 grand this year to put that race on. It's not fun for us as a promoter, and every promoter, depending on their area, is faced with that challenge of BLM fees and BOR and the air quality, you name it. There's so many different things that we're faced with as promoters to put on events in specific areas that create challenges for us, but also to keep our cost mindful for the racers, because that's what we want to do, is create the cheapest investment to get the biggest return.
Yeah. So I don't know, can you guys touch on Prim at all? Is there any update on what's going on at Prim? Because we know that racing's kind of on a hold there right now. Is there any updates as far as Prim goes?
I just had a conversation with Kenny Freeman, and it's somewhere, it's hanging on the balance with the Prim family. We're hoping that comes through, because that's a big hit to so many promoters, you know, us, and I know, like I say, everybody. So, you know, it's on our calendar for April. We're not saying no yet, but we don't have it's not a 100% yes, but we're trying to do everything we can to offer the Prim family insurances that us as a promoter are going to do our due diligence to make sure that their, you know, property is safe, and that we can bring them, you know, a good revenue, you know, a good investment from our time there, you know. And so we don't have 100% yes, but Kenny did say it still looks real strong, but, you know, I can't confidently tell you 100% yet. I hope
Yeah.
too. And that is for everybody, obviously, Legacy Best in the Desert works. The Mint, that's their home base for that event. I've talked with the Marcelli guys, and like, what are you guys going to do? I'm like, well, we're looking at a couple options, but, and then with Gene, Nevada, just up the road, it's a great spot, but the hotel's closed. Those properties like that are invaluable because it brings, an infrastructure of amenities for racers and families, and it's a great place to pit and camp because the ground's pretty flat and not, too treacherous. So we're looking at other properties and options for race locations, but they don't all have that. That's kind of like the perfect storm in a sense for a start finish main pit event area. So yeah, we don't really have an answer on that yet, but we're working hard to try to get that through.
It's not a BLM issue or anything like that. It's actually a private property owner that is being negotiated with there, right?
The owners of the land, so they really hold the key. They're the gatekeeper for that property. It's not Affinity Gaming that owns the properties. It's the Prim family that got poked by the litigation that's going on, which I don't have a crystal clear picture of, but there's a lot of rumors as to what is behind all of that. But they don't want their name on a lawsuit, and who would? But and I don't think at the end of the day it'll hold weight. But it's still it got their attention, and they don't want that kind of attention. But they also need to kind of loosen the reins to where the people that are leasing their property can make money, and we are a huge customer for them.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's a lot of events at Prim. I think all of us have been to Prim multiple times. I mean, we all been at the Tree Bar for all night many times probably too.
Right.
But we want racing in Prim, definitely. That's a big spot for racing. So hopefully that gets resolved, and when it does, let us know, and we'll be sure to get the word out to everybody when it does.
Yeah. It's definitely been a big spot for us for so many years. I know we started the Battle of Prim actually was the first short course event there in 2004. And then we were doing our Buffalo Bill 400s out of there years ago. And obviously so many other people have been able to do so. And we've raced out of Gene and going back to Sloan when the Frontier 500s used to start in Sloan, which was right outside Vegas. But, times have changed. And as that happens, we lose. And it's tough to adapt and overcome. There are a few new areas, but we're also fighting the county that wants to close up. There's different propositions that are being put forth within the BLM to allow people to lease lands, and unfortunately our foes want to lease the land, which would basically close it off from our access. We're one solar field away from losing Prim and Gene as a whole. If they sell one more parcel off, we can't get around the backside of the mountain to connect. That's a 20-mile, segment we're going to lose. And so we're praying that doesn't happen.
Yeah. Hopefully that all turns out for the best. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
A couple other people in the chat here. Michael Cohen, I see you've been in here for a little while. Did you want to say something about any of this? Maybe he doesn't have his audio on. And then we have Cody. Oh, Cody from Moore. What's going on, Cody?
Hey, Fish. How's it going?
Hey, good. Sorry I didn't see you in the waiting room earlier. How are you doing?
No worries. I'm traveling today, so it's been tough. Hopefully I have good enough service to stay on here for a minute.
Right on. Yeah, we're kind of we're about maybe 3/4 of the way through. So I don't know, maybe fill everybody in. What's going on with Moore? We saw Brian was talking about a 1600 race that you guys are doing next year. Are you guys have any plans for anything special next year? Any big races? Are you teaming up with anybody? Any organizations? Are you guys doing anything?
So our big plans every year is to keep putting on awesome races for limited class racers. Class 9, Class 11, Class 1600, 5600. It's always trying to put up big purses and fun, exciting races for those classes. We're also talking about 2-day races. I heard some guys talk to. So we just added that to our schedule this year. Coming up December 2nd and 3rd in Barstow, we are doing a 2-day. We've been working with BLM on how to make that feasible, and going to do a 2-day event, 2 completely different courses in Barstow to wrap up the Pro-Am Championship Series. So we're excited about that, and we plan on continuing that as a staple every year. And then starting next year, we'll have a big class 9 race, big class 11 race, big class 1600 race. And we usually finish off the year with a big 1400 and class 2000, the door slammer dual race. But that's always our plan at Moore, is fun, exciting new courses and good bonus money for those limited classes.
Right on. Yeah, I think it's, that's what you guys excel at. There was one of the other promoters were on earlier. They were talking about how that's kind of your guys' wheelhouse, right? You're not trying to get all the trophy truck guys out there. You're not trying to do this. You're sticking with what you guys are good at and why everybody in those classes is coming to race with you right now, right? Just kind of having fun in the limited class entry level races. And well, why would you change if you guys are doing good at it, right?
Yeah. The hard fish. I can't. Trying to drive and I can't hear what you're saying. I'm trying to put it back on speaker.
All good. It's all good.
Let me just do this. I can hold it to my ear so you're not looking at the inside of my ear with the camera here. Sorry, what was the main question there?
I was saying you guys are doing good at exactly what you're doing, right? Putting on races for the limited classes. That's kind of what you guys are focused on. You're not trying to get the trophy trucks to come out there and do big point-to-point races. You're focused on what you guys do good, and you're going to keep doing that basically, right?
Yeah, I mean, we know where our bread and butter is. It's with the limited classes, smaller loops that are not logistically challenging for teams. I mean, we have lots of teams that come out. They come out and it's like the racer in a single seat and his dad, and that's it. That's the only people there. They don't have pit crew or anything. So smaller courses, we try to keep them mixed up. I never repeat a course. As much fun and new terrain as we can. Throw joker laps in there to make things exciting. We just try to keep it as fresh as possible and fun. We want it to be fun for everybody. They always say they come to our races because the other races are stressful and high strung, and they get to just come relax and have a great weekend out the Moore race to go pre-running with their family, and just have a great time. And it's not all about trying to come out there and win and be the biggest and best and baddest. It's about having a great weekend with your friends and family.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I think you guys do a good job at that, and that's what everybody likes. Go ahead, Kevin.
I think some of it has to do with the fact that it's not so much time away from work. I mean, when you look at what you can commit to be away, and the low dollar guys, I mean, every penny counts. The more time away, I had to be there for qualifying, and then there was another day of this, and it just gets ridiculous. From my standpoint, when I was running my business, I couldn't afford to be away from work as much time. So to take time off to go to a race that had qualifying, and then maybe the pre-fun run had to be that day before. And that's another thing too. I kind of chimed in before why people race is the camaraderie. I mean, I've been involved with professional motorsports on different levels, including IndyCar and Formula One, and there's no camaraderie there at all. I mean, Robbie could speak to that. I mean, he knows for sure that there's no camaraderie. The best thing we've got going is family and friends. And so if your friends can't come out, your family can't come out, you can't come out because it's too much time, it's important to take that into consideration. When the entry fee matters, that an extra $500 is a deal breaker, well, a day off work is a deal breaker then. And so for the future of the sport, I mean, we've got to kind of look at the cost from a standpoint of the racer, I mean, these guys don't get sponsorship to run your business model about getting sponsorship for racers. I mean, that's catering to the top 5%, not the 90% that makes the promoter successful.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a lot of great points there. And that's why organizations like Moore and Snore are very important to all of this. And Vora, up in Nevada, that's like you said, you don't have to take a whole week off. If you're going to go do the Baja 1000, you probably have to take 2 weeks off this year, right? That is a massive undertaking.
Once a year.
So yeah, that's insane. Even just doing the Baja 500, you got to take a week off really. So to do a Vora, Moore, Legacy, Snore race, a lot of them, you just have to take 2 days off, probably take a Friday off work, right? You go up there after work on Thursday, you're off Friday, race Saturday, you come home Sunday, or you race Sunday too, and then you come home, Sunday night. So that definitely is a good point.
Most racers, what they enjoyed the most was pre-running. And largely in Nevada, that really got hammered down pretty bad. I used to lead the pre-runs for Best in the Desert in my Bronco. And I mean, we'd have 250, 300 pre-runners, and you stop someplace because somebody broke or something, and everybody'd be talking to each other, becoming friends. You'd meet people you didn't know before. It was that camaraderie of the pre-running. Well, why did Casey stop doing so many pre-runs? Why did the Vegas to Reno pre-run stop? Because if one turtle got killed, the race was over. That was it. Or later it was situations where the county roads got chowed up so much, it went from a bunch of guys pissing off rental car companies by thrashing Mitsubishi Monteros to high horsepower pre-runners. The high horsepower pre-runners chewed up all the roads out in the middle of nowhere, and the guys that had to use that to move their cows around complained. County commissioners didn't want to do permits. I mean, the small nuances that affect our ability to have fun are things that we can't ignore. So, okay, what if we used trackers on the pre-runners? And if you sped, you didn't get to race. I mean, was it something we could control? And then it's, well, the trackers cost money. And you know, right, wrong, or indifferent, I was the guy that brought trackers to Best in the Desert with the original racing tracks. And it was brought in for safety. Nothing broke our hearts worse than hearing on the radio a downed rider or a crashed car. And then you got to try to figure out where they are. Well, I mean, half the time it was, you got a stuck stub, and maybe the guy knew the mile he was at. 90% of the time he didn't. The people that reported where they were at, that was like plus or minus 50 miles. So the whole reason we did tracking was health and welfare. You take a step further, you know, loop race, you got a good chance you're going to know where the problem is. But loop races get chowed up, and I mean, they're less fun. We have big problems making the promoter successful. They got to have a lot of cars. Cody gets it. He knows how to get a lot of cars. It's not necessarily the most fun courses. So, I mean, he breaks it up and he finds rocks in places I don't know where the hell he got. But, you know, every promoter has good things. Every promoter has bad things. To try to get them all to be one promoter, we wouldn't get any choice. I mean, right now, I have huge respect for what Donald and Liz and Christy are doing with Legacy. The markings of the course, they break it up. It's not the same old situations. I like the course. There was a drivers meeting in Tonopah years ago where Diane interrupted Casey in the middle of the drivers meeting on the pre-fun run. And she brought him a bag of dirt and said, look, here, I wrapped this up for you because you love your course. You love your course. It was all about the course with him. And that's why Best in the Desert got successful, was great courses and camaraderie. You know, when we lost him, it's been tough. And you know, there was camaraderie decades ago with Snore. But, you know, those people are gone. And the new people tend to spend more time staring at their phones than talking to each other.
Well, it's because they're watching Fishgistics on their phone, obviously.
Well, that has become the go-to for the information. The real time, what everybody wants is they want to know what's going on. And that was the other side benefit of the trackers. It was, you could know kind of what was going on until somebody put tinfoil over the hat or unplugged it or unwired it or all the various methods.
Where'd Robbie go? He might be able to comment on that. It seems he left. That's weird timing. Right on. Well, you know, I have about 10 minutes left or so. So I'm going to try to give anybody else, if anyone else hasn't talked yet, join now. If you guys want to comment on something, any of you guys that are on here right now, if you have anything else you want to share on any of this, put your hand up and we'll make sure you're unmuted. Looks like Michael has something there. Go ahead, Michael. You want to unmute yourself? You should be able to.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, very good. I'm technically challenged, so that works. But first of all, I just want to thank you, Fish and Travis, for putting this together. This is the first step of many to start solving a lot of these issues, which is good. And I also want to give big kudos to Snore and to Moore and to Vora and to Legacy for being, as far as I know, the only 4 promoters that have ever worked together. I could be wrong. But for trying to coordinate and work together and keep from splitting the pie up. I've been around the sport a long time, love the sport, and I was excited to see this opportunity that you guys are putting together. And, keep in mind, there's a lot of ideas, a lot of things to solve, and this is the first step in it. So, keep up the good work. And I couldn't agree more with what Kevin has to say about camaraderie. That's probably, I don't know, the first off-road race I went to when I was like 5 or 6, and I saw my dad's friends, and I got to grow from that too. And that's a big part of it. So again, I don't want to take up a bunch of time, but I do want to thank you guys for putting this together, and thanks everyone for coming on here, both in the industry and then also the enthusiasts and the racers, and keep working hard for this great sport. There's nothing like it.
Yeah. Hopefully it just keeps getting better. And that was the whole point of doing this thing, was I was just trying to get everybody to talk to each other, really, like get some cooperation going on, kind of hear from some racers, what they like, what they don't like. I mean, when you're out at a race, it's hard to talk to people because everybody's in race mode and you're working on a car, you got this going on, or you're worried about this. The race promoters are worried about a spectator over here. You know what I mean? It's hard to talk to people at the race. So I want to do this a little bit more casual setting, and then maybe hope it leads to something. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm throw out a challenge here for the promoters. Every year, Daryl Folks does what we call the Nevada Adventure Tour. And it was something that Casey forced him to do, to put together racers and their sons and daughters in a non-competitive environment to enjoy rural Nevada. I think all the promoters need to get together and spend 4 days doing that and get to know each other better and get camaraderie amongst promoters. Doing that and get to know each other. What could be good or bad?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a great suggestion. And me and Kenny Freeman have had the conversation multiple times lately about having or wanting and needing to work with other promoters. I know he, I think, reached out to Brian this morning. I've started to touch base with Cody. Cody, I look forward to talking to you more. We've definitely done some great events in the past, and we definitely see the need to work together for us to survive. All these little small events aren't good for the way the sport looks as a whole to big sponsors and entities, but I am all for, moving forward again and partnering and putting on great events together, because it's what we got to do to make this sport great again. And fighting amongst ourselves is not the way to go. I think it's fantastic that Cody had a great event a couple of months ago, and Legacy did their event in Virginia City, and I've heard lots of good things, and congratulations to those guys. And we just had a fun one up in Ridgecrest, and did we have the greatest car count? No, but we had a fun event. And surprisingly, everybody said the course was smooth and fast, which is not what most people think of Ridgecrest, but it went well. And I applaud, like I say, everybody else and what the things they're doing. But yes, we need to work together. Period. End of story. Next, go ahead.
Perfect. So, all right. Anybody else have anything? Chuck,
I got something, Fish.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So obviously I come from a fairly small program team-wise, and I can tell you from the majority of us smaller teams, as we do enjoy the big races, the big events, but definitely figuring out schedules that make it, like it was stated earlier, that they're not, we don't have 5-6 weeks of vacation a year to take off to go to a 3 or 4 race series if everything takes a week at a time. And I apologize if I got here late and this was also covered.
No, you're good. Go.
Something even that you guys can, as promoters, can work on to start to figure out how to work well together. Maybe do cross series competitions and championships. Give us the opportunity to race. Like this year, we won NorCal Rock Race Championship, and then tore the car down, prepped it, and then went and raced Vegas to Reno because I wanted a bucket list race this year. But if we could come up with a way that we could, that promoters could figure out how to start slowly working together, even give the racers the opportunity to say, hey, you can go hit one race over here, one race over there, and a race over here, and you're all kind of throwing some combined money into a pot. Let us get out and show our partners, our sponsors, our family, our friends, everything that these cars can do.
Chuck, if I let me jump in here, because that's a great idea, and it's actually you kind of nailed exactly what in theory for a limited class guy would be awesome. Like, cool, Cody's got his 6 races a year, John has their 6 races a year, Laura's got her 6 races a year, all around a grassroots feel, right? Imagine if there was 2 races from each of those series that created this awesome, best of the Martellis have their triple crown, right? Imagine we now have a Grassroots triple crown, right? And instead of getting
working on that.
Yeah, there we go. So this is what I'm saying. It's like that in for me as a racer, Fish, you asked earlier, what keeps me coming to these races? Give me the high car count so I can compete against the best. With a high car count comes a big purse and exposure for my sponsors, which I don't have any. Newsflash. Most racers don't, right? But if I can win a big race and I can show, hey, look I just beat 50 other guys, then then maybe I can parlay that into a sponsorship package and a proposal that I can take, and someone will actually take me seriously because I don't have 1,000 horsepower trophy truck, right? No, people ask, what kind of horsepower does a 1600 car put out? And when I say, about 85, 90 horsepower, they kind of chuckle. It's like, you guys just don't get it. It's not appealing, right? So it's tricky, but I think as a consumer, as a customer, that sounds awesome. A big triple crown. You race 2 here, 2 here, 2 there. I'd love to come up and race a Bora race. I think that sounds awesome. I will take the extra time off work so I can do a cool point to point.
I'm gonna hold you to that.
I'll be there.
Yeah. Yeah. It just,
so it's something cool.
Yeah. I just think that would be, I think there's a lot of people that would be interested in that. And you'll get guys that we start cross racing, cross over into the desert world, get guys in the desert cars that come out and want to go race short course and then get in a rock car and go, oh, okay, this could actually be fun, and go, wow, that rock car, it's got 1,200 horsepower. We're pushing trophy truck numbers, but we're doing it in a rock donkey.
The concept,
it's just,
the concept you're proposing, so I understand right, is if the promoters got together and said, we are for this race going to do something special for a class, and each promoter picked a class. You guys are stealing Cody's idea that he's done for his whole series, but it works. And in terms of raising the participation level, having a little more attention to a class at each race, say for example, Vegas to Reno was going to get 1,600 cars as its group. That would give bucket list adventure to all those guys. Say Legacy had class 10 for say the Baja Nevada. That would be a bucket list 1 time a year expenditure without having to go to the Baja 1000. Is that kind of what you're saying you're looking for?
No, more of okay, we'll just use it. Say you go to a Vora race and do a loop Fallon race. There's 1-year races, but you're like, man, but I really like racing Ridgecrest. Well, Vora doesn't race Ridgecrest. So you find out who's going to Ridgecrest, you race there. Those with our 4-wheel drive cars.
You make your own series out of the
you make a series out of everyone's series.
Offroad,
and it kind of gives them an opportunity to work together first before doing this big conglomeration. Try it that way. See how it works out.
People have done this before. Remember Pro Truck back in the day, Jeep Speed, Trophy Light, they've all done this. They do the most fun races or the best races their racers want to do. And it's one from a different series all the time. They do 1 here, 1 here, 1 there. The thing is, you just have to have somebody that's running that group, like the Pro 1600 group or whatever, has to decide, okay, this is what we're going to do this year. And then you just go to the promoters with that. And if you come to any promoter and you say, hey, we have 30 cars coming to your race, they're going to work with you on whatever you want, right? If you can bring 30 cars in a class to a promoter, they'll go by whatever rules you want for that class. They'll do whatever payout you want. If you can bring them 30 cars, right? I mean, Vora and Snore on here, right? You guys would, yeah. I mean, nobody's going to say no to that. It'd be crazy to, yeah. And then it makes it fun. But the problem is you have to have somebody to do that and organize that. And being that person is not fun. So we have Brian are you going to do that, Brian? You're muted, Brian.
Yeah, because I mean, that's like we live streamed that whole Vegas to Reno race and have got great feedback from it.
Yeah.
It was awesome. We had a great time.
Yeah.
And it just, I want to be involved in it. You know, I've tried to throw my hat in a few times, and it just, I was very glad to hear that someone's finally listening, that the quote unquote biggest names of the industry aren't necessarily the ones that drive the series. We've had that argument a few times about your quote unquote 5 or 6 big names don't bring nearly the gate counts as maybe the 7 or 8 weekend warriors that bring their entire families, friends, and buddies to the race.
Yeah.
They may, they bring more gate entries and some more exposure. Yeah, it just, looking at every driver, every racer, those are the ones that count.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we got to go in a couple minutes, but a couple people, Brian down there, do you have anything you want to say, Brian? Or the 1491 entry? You guys have been on here for a little bit. Go ahead if you want.
Hey, Fish, I appreciate you putting this on. This is a pretty good deal, and I've been taking a lot of notes. So I run some off-road races here in Texas and have for a few years, and I've been involved in it in my home state for quite a while. And then I also race out west and in Mexico and all that. A lot of interesting points have been talked about here, and what I would like to offer to this is I'd be willing to work on hosting a roundtable for all the promoters in Texas, get everyone away from their home turf on a neutral ground, and let's put on a badass weekend for everybody to sit down and talk about all these things together and in person, and even include, representatives of insurance companies and representatives of partners and sponsors for the events and whatnot to get their input on what they're looking for, and basically lock the doors and weld them shut until everyone comes around with an idea on how to unify classes and unified points and things of that nature, not necessarily unify series. Because I agree that, competition breeds innovation. And if you don't have other series competing with each other, then one is not going to try to do better, which is going to pull the others up. A rising tide, right, raises all ships kind of thing. And it helps bring attention to my state, where we have millions of acres of unused land that is prime for off-road racing. I had a 97-mile loop on for one of my races that was actually televised on TV when Dave Cole brought Ultra 4 out and raced on my course out there. On self-promotion, that's what I would want to get out of this, is to show everyone, hey, there's options. But I'd be willing to organize something like that, a 4-day weekend or whatever at a badass resort ranch down in far Southwest Texas, and give everyone a chance to take a little vacation from their area, sit down together and put these things into actual motion. If that's something that everyone else would be willing to do, I'd like to talk with you all about doing that. That's my concept of this.
Well, right on. Well, yeah, I mean, I think that sounds cool. The problem is everybody going to do it or not, right? But you can ask them. You can put the offer out there. Send me a message afterwards. I'll make sure you have everyone's email, and you can email all the promoters, and you can make that offer to them straight up on their email and see what happens. It'd be awesome. Earlier we were talking about that in the beginning of the show, and it does sound like everybody kind of wants to work together to make all this better. And, just in closing up the show here, I think the point of this whole thing was racers want to go to races that are fun to do. They want to race against people in their class. They want to have the same set of rules no matter where they go, so they don't have to worry about if their car is legal or not. They don't want to have to take a ton of time off work to go do every race. They do like pre-running when it's possible, but we know that's not always possible. And there is some land use issues going on, right? All those are kind of what's going on right now. So this next year in off-road racing, I think, is going to be a big kind of telling year what happens in 2024. There's going to be some series together. There's going to be some races that aren't happening anymore. There's going to be some big races. We'll see what happens. So I don't know. Hopefully everybody had fun watching today. And if there's anything I can always do to make people talk together like this, let me know. I'm always glad to try and help. Everybody can hate me if they want. I don't really care. So I'm going to be doing some racing next year. So maybe you guys can nerf me on the course or something if you can catch me. So, all right. Well, I think
like a quarterly thing or a semi-annual thing or something. Yeah. This has been great. Thank you.
Well, we'll try to do it again. Yeah. But thanks to all of you guys for coming today. Like I said, that's going to pretty much wrap it up here, but stay tuned. The next thing I'll be doing is covering the Baja 1000. So you guys can all tune in. Everybody likes the Baja 1000. It's going to be a gnarly race this year. So that'll be the next time I'm live. And let's keep having fun. Let's keep off-road racing growing. And hopefully it's here for our kids and their kids to do. And we have some fun races. All right. We'll see you guys. We'll see you guys all in the dirt. Thanks everybody for joining.